Hi, today we are going to review the Zeiss Otus 85mm 1.4 lens. Now this lens was announced earlier this year in 2014 and it's the newest member of the Otus lenses from Zeiss. The previous one, the 55mm Otus 1.4, was announced about 2 years ago, and this was the lens that we previously reviewed here on LensVid. Now, the Otus 85mm is the largest of the Otus family currently. It's a very, very big lens and very thick, as you can see right here. Very big lens. Now, this lens is very, very similar to the 55mm, both in terms of general design and, as we are going to see in a second, also in terms of image quality. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is the build quality and the design of the 85mm lens. So let's have a look at the Zeiss Otus 85mm 1.4. As you can see, this is a very large lens. It weighs 1,200 grams, so it's fairly hefty. In terms of height, it's 124 millimeters without the hood. So this is the lens in terms of height. It's 92 millimeters in width, so it's a fairly wide lens, and it has a very, very large filter, 86 millimeter in diameter. So the front element is very big. Now, in terms of construction, it has 11 elements inside it, ordered in 9 groups. The minimum focus distance is 80 centimeters, and the maximum magnification is 1 to 7.7, so it's not a macro lens. Now, in terms of build quality, the entire lens is made out of metal, except from the focus ring, which has this rubber coating. Very interesting design, which we have seen in the Otus 55mm as well. This is unique for the Otus line. Now, in terms of the rest of the construction, the focus ring, as we said, it's rubber. As you can see, it starts, let's go to 0.8 meters, and it has 261 degrees of turn. This is huge. So as you can see, we start from 0.8 and we move all the way to infinity like this. So very, very long rotation for the focus ring. Now, in terms of, we have another ring below, which is the aperture ring. It moves from 1.4 to f16, and you have to push this small button here. As you can see, it moves in clicks, just like the Otus 55mm. So again, this is not a lens that was specifically made for video work, unless you don't need you're doing video work which doesn't require sound, or you're recording sound externally. Now, let's look at the hood. The hood itself, again, just like in the 55mm, is made out of metal and has this nice coating fabric, black fabric inside, for preventing reflections into the lens. The same click mechanism. You have a marking here and a marking here. You align them together and they click. So this is about it in terms of build quality. Very, very solid construction, very high quality, just as we would expect from Zeiss. What we're going to talk about now is the performance of the 85mm Otus. Now, we're not going to talk about the focusing with this lens. We already covered this on the review of the 55mm Otus lens. So if you want to see this, go and check the 55mm Otus review. What we're going to talk about is the performance of the lens when shooting with the D800, which is the camera that we use for shooting in this case. Now, the performance is very, very similar to that of the 55mm Otus. So it's simply superb. Across the board, all the parameters of the image quality were very, very good. In terms of sharpness, this lens is super sharp. We tested it at f1.4, and as you can see right now on the screen, the center is super sharp. The corners are also very, very sharp. When you close down to f2.8, it's also very, very sharp in the middle, and the corners are even slightly more sharp than in 1.8, 1.4. The difference is not huge, and when you move to f8, it's even sharper on the corners. The center, again, doesn't, you don't see a lot of difference in the center of the frame. On the corners, you see slight improvement between f1.4, f2.8, and f8, but all in all, it's super sharp. You also see a lot of details in the images, and you're going to see a few images that we shot later in this segment. The lens itself doesn't have a lot of vignette. We shot the sky in f1.4 and in f8, and as you can see, there isn't a lot of difference. There is not a lot of barrel distortion with this lens. You can see the image right now on the screen. It's very uniform. There is tons and tons of contrast with this lens. It's a part of being so sharp that you see a lot of details and a lot of sharpness and a lot of contrast with the lens. Another thing that we saw, again, very similar to the 55mm, is the ability to handle flare and veiling flare. You don't see, even if you point it very close to the sun, you don't see a lot of haze, or you don't see a lot of white in the image, if you like. The image still stays sharp and you see a lot of details, and this is a problem with a lot of lenses, even a lot of very good ones. So this is, in terms of image quality, really superb, and what we're going to do now is go to the conclusion and talk about what we like and didn't like about this lens. So let's sum things up. We really like the 85mm Otus lens. It's very, very similar to the 55mm Otus lens that we reviewed previously. The image quality of this lens is really superb. Across the board, the sharpness, the contrast, the way it handles light, the colors, it's very, very high. You have seen the images, you have seen our test. The image quality is really, really superb. Now, the second thing that we like, again, similar to the 55, is the build quality and the design. The build quality is superb. It's all metal. We really like the design with the hood, which integrates very nicely into the contour of this lens, and the ring, the focus ring of the lens with this rubber thing, is very nice to handle, very comfortable to use. So all in all, it's a very nice design. The ring itself is also very, very long, or it has 261 degrees of turn, so it's very precise. Now, in terms of things which we didn't really care for, well, first of all, this is a huge lens. It's even bigger than the 55mm lens. It's very thick, and actually when you're putting it in your bag, it's not very comfortable to hold it in the bag because it's so thick. So you need to rearrange your bag in a lot of cases. We needed to do this in order to actually put it in the bag and store it. So this is a problem. But if you have a big bag, it's not really an issue. And again, I mean, it's very big for an 85mm lens, but if you're used to larger lenses, we used 80 to 400mm and other telephoto lenses. They're bigger than this one. Maybe not thicker, but obviously longer and heavier. So it's a big lens for an 85, but all in all, it's not a huge lens. You can walk with it and shoot with it from the hand. It's not really a problem. Now, other than that, well, it's not weather sealed, just like the 55mm Otus. Again, we don't know why Zeiss decided to do this. And it's a manual focus only. We discussed it in length when we talked about the 55mm. If you're okay with using a manual focus only lens, by all means, this is something that you need, that you can use. Otherwise, keep in mind that this is a limitation of this lens. Now, in terms of pricing, this is exactly the same price as the 55mm lens, and we will say just what we've said there. This lens is specifically intended for people who are either shooting in a studio, portrait photographers or other product photographers maybe who don't need macro lenses. So this is one target audience. As the second target audience is possibly people who like manual focus lenses. Either they shot with them on analog cameras or have some other inclination towards manual focus lenses. So this is the 85mm 1.4. Be sure to watch the next review of the 135mm lens, and if you didn't see it already, watch the 55mm review, which is a more comprehensive one than this one and includes a lot of discussion about manual focusing. Finally, read the full review on the 85mm with a lot of images on lensvid.com.